Shalom, this is your brother Shammai back at you again with another through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, to whom all praises are due. To all the sincere Akim, laboring in the truth, the brothers of Great Millstone at the forefront of teaching the 100% truth, and then we have the other like-minded brothers following suit. Shalom, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth firstly through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and to the few sincere sisters, the Akwath, listening and learning to you, I say Shalom. Topic for this lesson is going to be, the Lord has the world checkmated. And it's indeed the best time to be alive today, because as it is right now, we're living in the rulership of the four beasts, the last leg, right? And as we know, four great beasts were prophesied, to have dominion, right? Four kingdoms, were prophesied long ago in Daniel chapter 7 to have rulership, right? Those four great beasts, are the Assyrian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Babylonian Empire, and the Roman Empire, which is by far the most brutal out of all of the other three, out of all the four, Yeah, and we're currently in the fourth beast, and we're in the last leg of the revived Roman Empire, as we call it, because ancient Rome fell away, right? But they're back again, you understand? And they're in rulership, right? I could just back that up real fast, don't want to stray off topic too much. But let's just get that prophecy in Daniel chapter 7 real fast. Can start at verse 7, Not going to break the whole thing down, just getting to the point prior to what I mentioned earlier. And it says here, after this I saw in the night visions, right? This is Daniel. And behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. Yeah, because the Roman Empire was a very, very mighty army, a mighty empire, They did a lot of conquering, throughout their time. You understand? And it had great iron teeth. Iron teeth represents its military might. You understand? And as we know, these people, these Romans, came from the lineage of Evil E, the so-called white man, who was given the blessing of the sword. So really and truly, it's no coincidence. So we're tying everything, we can begin to realize what's going on. See? Great iron teeth, strong military might, It devoured and broke in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. Because all the other kingdoms, the other three kingdoms that were ruling, those other three beasts, it was a bit different from those, because this one didn't have a kingship per se, but they had like a democracy, where someone was elected, to rule, right? So it was a bit different, you understand? And those 10 horns represent the 10 founding countries, of the NATO and the EU, you understand? It started off with 10 of them originally, right? That's what the 10 horns represent there. Let's go verse 8. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. So that little horn is talking about North America. You understand? And the first 3 horns is talking about Britain, France, and Spain, right? Because because those countries were pretty much responsible for for, how should I say it now? They were like patriarchs, basically. They are the patriarchs of America. You understand? They had a contribution. Each one of them have a contributing portion, to what America is today. You understand? So yeah, so they are patriarchs, right? So that's what the 3 horns represent, right? And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man. Yeah, the eyes of men, right? That represent what? Their technology, the supreme technology. We all know that America is very advanced in their technology. They have a lot of things, that we've never seen before. As we see the other day, brothers doing lessons on the robots that they're creating that mimic human-like gestures very well. They have all of these genetically engineered mosquitoes. They create viruses. They have all of this, Area 51, They have all of these technologies, right? And a mouth speaking great things, they are very authoritative, right? And that is why they're at the forefront of pushing the charagma and the venom, that they want everybody to take. You understand me I say? Yeah, man. So that was just pretty much a little synopsis there. But let's not stray from the topic. The fact of the matter is this. Yahweh Shemi Shai have all of these nations, by the nuts. All of them are in his chessboards, starting with the current rulers, the red men of Edom, the so-called white man, right, who the Lord have beef with. The Lord don't like that set of people, contrary to what Christianity teach. The Lord don't like them. He's not dealing with them, and the punishment that is coming for all the things that they have done is going to be it's going to be unrivaled. You understand? But let's get Malachi chapter 1, and let's start at verse 1. It says here, the burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith the Lord. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not, fill in the blank, Jacob's brother? Saith the Lord, yet I loved Jacob. You see, we can't call the name because the algorithm will actually detect it and the video will be blocked. Yeah, that's how hurt these levels are. You can't say the name. And I hated, fill in the blank, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. And that's especially going to happen when these nuclear missiles, destroy North America. It's going to be a wasted, desolate land, with desert creatures inhabiting it. It's going to be the lake of fire first. It's going to burn for a period of time, and then it's just going to be a land of desolence, Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. You don't hear these prophecies coming out in the Christian church because they were fashioned in the way of the devil to teach deception and to avoid these prophecies, because it condemns the rulers today, right? It condemns the ruler of the world. And we can back that up in the New Testament because people like to rule out the Old Testament, and say it's done away with and this and that. But let's get it, Paul quoted it again. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but fill in the blank have I hated. See? Signed, stamped, and delivered. You understand? It was mentioned in the Old Testament. Now the Holy Spirit have Paul mention it again. See, say there's no getting out of this. The Lord have beef with this nation, and it's going to continue until they do their time in captivity. See? Let's get Ezekiel chapter 25 and get verse 14. Hear the word of the Lord. And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel. And that's going to happen in the kingdom. Yeah? That's going to happen in the kingdom. Right? We're going to get our hands back on them again. All of the things that they've done to us, they're going to reap the vengeance for it. And they shall do in Edom according to mine anger and according to my fury. And they shall know my vengeance, saith the Lord. Yeah, so we're going to do a lot of things to them. It's just that we're not going to do the unrighteous things, like the buck breaking and all of that madness that they did, but they're going to get the recompense. Right? The Lord ain't playing. If the Heavenly Father says something, best believe it's going to happen. And then after them do them time in captivity, after 1,000 years, then they will be exterminated, a whole nation, the whole nation, of Edom will be exterminated. You understand? The book of Obadiah, in verse 10 says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. So everything that we went through, even the slavery, everything, the oppression now that we are living under, you understand? You're going to pay for all of that, the violence, shooting down Jake in the street, murdering the Native Americans, enslaving the Latinos and taking over the land, taking over. Listen, they're going to pay for all of this, but then the bottom line is that all of these nations, whether we want to believe it or not, are our enemies. right? All of them, the so-called Chinese, so-called Japanese, every one of them. And David called them out, right? It's very important, coming into the truth. One of the most important things as well, apart from knowing the names of the Heavenly Father and the Son, right? And knowing that you're an Israelite, is that, you have to know and realize that we have enemies. So-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we are the Israelites, and we have enemies. All these other nations are our enemies. Psalms 83 in verses, can start it off at verse 2. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. Yeah. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. And yeah, they did. That also happened big time, over the last few hundred of years when we were in slavery, right? We didn't know that we were Israelites then, right? And from then up until, about when Abba, before Abba Bivens came on the scene, sometime around the 1960s, when this truth exploded, we didn't know we were Israelites. We were completely gone, right? Walking off of the way of the heathens. You see me? Watch this now. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. And it goes on to list them out. The tabernacles of Edom, you see who topped the list? The so-called white man. And the Ishmaelites, the so-called Arabs. Of Moab, so-called Chinese, and the Hagarenes, the Hamitic people, the so-called Africans. We and the Africans are different people. They are from the Hamitic lineage. We are from the Shemitic lineage, right? And then it lists out the other enemies, Jebal and Ammon. We know the Ammon, Ammon are the so-called Japanese. And Amalek, you see, the so-called white man mentioned again. The Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. You see, all of these people. Yeah. So, we do have enemies. You understand? And every one of them, every last one of them, will be going back into captivity. They're going to be subjects under the nation of Israel when Yahweh shall return. He's not coming to give hugs. He's coming to, plunder these nations. Get the rebels out of Israel. Send them to the spirit world so they can bomb back in the kingdom in their right mind and set up a righteous rulership. Where the world will be governed by the law, statutes, and commandments. See? Isaiah 1 and 2. This is a prophecy. This hasn't happened as yet. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. And the strangers, Isaiah 14 and 1, the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Who are these strangers? This is not talking about outside people. This is talking about, let's look it up. The word there is ger, a sojourner, temporary inhabitant, a newcomer lacking inherited rights. Of foreigners in Israel, though conceded rights. Foreigners in Israel, though conceded rights. What's the meaning of the word concede? Let's get that meaning of the word real quick. Concede. See? To grant, number 2 definition. To grant as a right or privilege to make concession of. So those strangers, the foreigners in Israel, were given privilege. You understand? And the only way that can ever happen is if they are of that lineage, right? See, foreigners in Israel, the Gentiles that come back to the land. You understand? The Gentiles, because we're all scattered. You understand? So through conceded rights, by that birth, that bloodline, that's how we regain, the right to call ourselves an Israelite. You understand? Which the Native Americans, Hispanics, Negroes, and Latinos are all Israelites. See? And nobody can take that away. Yeah, man. Verse 2. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, servants and handmaids, slaves, and they shall take them captives who captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Yeah, we're going to rule over all of them nations that are oppressing us now, right? So that's what's coming. You understand what I say? And as for the 2/3, the 2/3 of the Israelites, in Babylon, which is North America, and the wicked ones scattered throughout the whole earth, your wicked ass have been checkmated also. The famine, the pestilence, the violence, death by wild animals, the serpent juice, the charagma, strange apparitions, evil spirits, power outages, FEMA troops, and the nuclear missiles to end things off. All of these things are wrapped up in Jacob's trouble, and you got nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And the Lord got us right where He wants us. Checkmate. See? The only way I get out of this alive if you're of the elect. See? And if you weren't marked to be of the election according to grace, that's your ass. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. All points have been covered for now. All praises to Yahweh Shai. And to the next, Shalom.